Okay, so this is part two of a series of layaway nightmares. And why, if you sell on Etsy, Mercari, Shopify, Ruby Lane, you should not do layaways. Okay, so I did the story about the bowl, the $500 layaway payment I received for an $895 bowl. And well, I don't have the other piece to show you. So I had listed, and I don't sell on Etsy anymore, but I'm just showing you examples of antiques for, I don't know, aesthetics. And so I had placed some felt doll on Etsy, and it was a Disney Clarabelle the Clown. No, Clarabelle the Clown. Oh my God, I'm losing it. Clarabelle the Cow from Disney, and one of the characters from Mickey Mouse. And I found it on eBay for really cheap. I think I got it for like $60, and it was like, I think from the 40s, maybe even the 50s. It was all felt, all handmade. I think it was Italian, not sure. Maybe one of those Lenci or Lenci type of felt dolls. And I didn't know very much about it. I'll be honest with you. I basically just put it on, threw a price tag on. I think I put a price tag of like $200 on it, or $250, something like that. And so I shit you not, within possibly maybe 15 minutes of me listing that, some lady writes me an email, and she contacted me and said, look, I really want this doll. I don't have the money now, but I will have it next week. Could you do me a huge favor? And she goes, I have a few dollars now to give you, but I don't have the full amount. Could you put it on the side for me? Actually, write in the listing, on hold for, and I forgot her name, write, do not buy. And she goes, and give me a PayPal notification of, she says, I can give you $50 right now. And I was like, okay. And so I wrote, do not buy, on hold for, I don't know, Louise, right? And so within 20 more minutes, I get a ka-ching sound on my phone because I have notifications that something sold. And I was like, oh, great. Wow, we're really doing well today. And I looked, and I nearly shat myself. Basically, and I put in big, bold letters, in all caps, on hold. Do not buy. On hold for Louise. And then in the body of the description, the whole first paragraph was, on hold. Do not buy. On layaway for Louise. No one is allowed to purchase this item. And guess what? Somebody purchased the item. And I was like, well, fuck. What am I going to do now? And so I contacted the person who actually purchased it and paid for it in full. And I said, hey, look, dude, and it was a guy. And I was like, I'm really sorry, but somebody just gave me a layaway, a down payment for this item and said they were going to pay me by next week. And I really can't sell this to you. If you noticed in my title, it said on hold, do not buy for Louise. In the description, it said on hold, do not buy, it's for Louise. And he said, well, I don't give a fuck. It's mine. I paid for it and you have to send it to me. So now I was in a conundrum. And this is why you should never do layaway on these websites. It's not a good idea. I see it all over the place. I no longer sell on Etsy, but I see listings left and right that says on hold for so-and-so name, do not buy. And sometimes I want to buy the item. And I'm like, well, if I went into the shopping cart and just bought it, the person that it was on hold for, fuck them, right? Fuck them. But at the same time, of course, I've never done that because I found that to be very rude. And yeah. And so I told the guy, look, I'm in a coinky dink here. And he said, well, fuck her. Who gives a shit about her? She didn't pay for it. She only paid you partial. I paid you in full. It's mine. And so I have two fucking people fighting over Clarabelle the fucking cow. And I'm like, this thing must be really valuable if two people at the same time wanted it. You know what I'm saying? My price was probably like a little too good. And so this guy would not budge for shit. He wanted Clarabelle the cow, and he wanted her and didn't give a flying fuck whether Louise put a $50 down payment on the item. So I didn't know what to do, guys. I mean, if you think about it, it's really the other guy's item. He paid in full. The other lady only paid partial. So whose loyalty should I give? Should I give Louise my loyalty? Or should I give the other guy my loyalty? I was in a corundum. So I actually felt that it was Louise's, to be quite honest with you. I was like, look, the lady was very polite, very nice. She said she's paying me next week when she gets paid. I believe her. She doesn't sound like a bullshit artist. And so I told this guy, look, I can't do this to somebody. That's not a nice thing to do. I made a contract with this other person, and so I'm going to refund you all your money, which I did. I refunded him all his money. I said it's going to the other lady. He threatened to leave me a negative feedback, and he threatened me that if I didn't sell it to him, he was going to contact Etsy and report me. Can you imagine the shit over fucking Layaway? And over a fucking Clarabelle the clown, I was going to say. Yeah, it is like a clown, right? It's not funny, though. And so over a Clarabelle the cow fucking doll, okay? I'm going through this amount of stress that I had to take a Xanax over. So I contacted the other lady, and I told her that this guy was threatening me, that he was going to actually report me and get me shut down from selling on Etsy and for being a bad seller if I didn't give him the item that he paid for, even though I gave him a full refund. And I said, look, the guy's threatening me. I don't know what to do here. And she said, no, you have to sell me Clarabelle. I want Clarabelle. We made a deal. And so I was in a fucking mess. So finally, that guy, I don't know, he called me on the phone. I don't remember how he got my phone number. And he was like, really pushy. He's like, you have to give me this item. And I'm like, well, sir, do you understand what kind of stress I'm having right now? I'm not trying to be a bad person here, but I'm in a coinky dink. And he says, I really don't care. I want the item. And so he says, I'm warning you, I'm going to call up Etsy and I'm going to tell them that you need to be shut down because you're not a good seller. And so I had no choice, but he ended up repaying again for the item. I gave Louise back her $50, and then Louise said, I am going to report you to Etsy. I shit you not. So this is why I'm going to tell you right now. All right, the guy ended up getting Clarabelle. All right, yeah. I was more scared of him than Louise. Turns out Louise actually lived in New York, the same state as me. And I was afraid she was going to take me to small claims court over Clarabelle the fucking cow. Can you imagine the amount of stress over a fucking felt doll? Okay? That's what happened to me. So here's a cautionary tale of why you should never, ever, ever, if you have an Etsy listing, write on hold for with a person's name and in all caps, do not buy. Because somebody can come along and say, hey, fuck that shit. I got the money now. I'm going to buy this item and I'm going to buy it now. And the seller, tough titties. So don't do what I did. I no longer sell on the internet anymore. I'm keeping all my antiques. I'm not selling them. I'm not going through this amount of stress for a fucking doll or a fucking salt and pepper shaker or a perfume bottle or a glass box or antique jewelry. I'm not going through that amount of stress just for some other people that are going to threaten to practically like sue me and, get my internet shop shut down and all sorts of threats. And yeah. All right. So don't do Layaway. It's an absolute horror. And you'll see part 1 about the bowl, how I got paid $500. And after the 5th payment, 5 months later, the lady decided that she wanted all her money back. And yeah, I'll put part 1 in this listing, this video's description, so you can click and hear about part 1. And part 2, yeah, Clarabelle the fucking clown. Cow. I'm losing it. Clarabelle the fucking cow caused me a panic attack.